Hi, everyone. This is Jen Grisanti with Story Therapy, Character and Character Dynamics. And in my interview today, I am interviewing Justin Hillian. I am so thrilled for you to meet Justin. Justin is incredible. He is a brilliant writer. He went through Writers on the Verge, and he's now an executive producer on The Shy, 3 seasons as a showrunner. So we're going to jump into that. He's going to give you insight. Justin, in articles that I've read on Justin is so open about his experience with moving through terror in the writer's room and the going up the ladder. And so I'm thrilled for you to hear what Justin has to share with you. So welcome, Justin, first of all. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Oh, my pleasure. All right. So first question, when you went through Writers on the Verge and you were moving into creating a career, what were some of the internal and external hurdles that you faced?
So for me, the biggest sort of hurdle was, I came out here actually initially in 2004, and I was a writer's PA on a sitcom, and there was a lot of hazing, and like at one point I got put in a trash can, and like I had this kind of moment where you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you're like, I'm never going to do this again. Um, and then I got in Writers on the Verge, and I'm coming out of it, and I got a fantastic manager, but I didn't get staff in the dream that I thought was going to happen. And then I had an opportunity, I thought, to be the writer's assistant on Scandal, and I was like, oh, this is going to be great. And then I showed up, and they were like, well, actually, we're looking for a writer's PA, and I was like, oh. I remember looking in the mirror, being like, I'm never going to do this again. But I also had a then girlfriend, now wife, who was like, I love you, but I'm not going to be paying for things forever. And so I was like, I do need a job, and also just looking at the opportunity, not the position. And so I took that job, and it was the best decision I ever made. But it was like that push and pull of like, oh God, my ego and like my expectation of what my life was going to be at this point isn't matching up. And now I have to double back and do this thing that I thought I wasn't going to do anymore. But sometimes that ends up being the best thing that could have ever happened to you. And it was for me.
Oh, I love that. I love the idea how one decision could have such a monumental effect. I hear that from a lot of writers. They'll tell me one person opened a
Mm-hmm.
door and that changed the trajectory of my career. And I love the sharing of that. What would you say when so that would probably more go toward the external. So when you think about the internal, as far as belief, as far
Mm-hmm.
as knowing that you got into a huge writing program, you made it through, you did an incredible job in it. Like, how did you work through some of the fear before the first staffing job? And what was the experience like when you got over that hurdle?
Well, it's funny. I mean, and I told you this privately, but a lot of it was leaning on like what you told me when I was, at one of my lowest points, because it's no secret that I struggled in Writers on the Verge quite a bit, particularly with the spec script. And you told me, you were like, I've read a lot of scripts. You are going to have a career. You are going to work. And I would literally, it was almost like a mantra. Like I would just say that to myself whenever I was second guessing myself or having doubts. And because when you get to a place like Scandal and you're, getting coffee and lunch for people that have, show run Grey's Anatomy and worked on Private Practice and all of these super successful shows, Damages, you can go on and on. And then you get a peek in the room and you see how talented they are. And then you read their scripts and you see how much better they are than you. Like the gap between where you think you need to be and where you are can seem like it's just no amount of writing you can do when you get off work at 10 p.m. and show back up have to be at Whole Foods at 7 a.m., to get the fresh pineapple. You're like, there's not enough hours in the day for me to catch up to these people. But what was great
And
is they were
yet you
so,
did.
yeah, well, and they were a huge help of that because getting around people like that, they'll accelerate your learning process because they know so much.
Yes, but now you are that person. So that's what I love more than anything. Like you've been show running The Shy for 3 years. So I'm very curious ongoing, because we're going to take a big jump on how you went up the ladder from staff to showrunner. So with being told that you were going to be the showrunner in season 3, bring me into that moment.
It's funny because Lena Waithe, the creator of the show, she called me and was like, "I got it." I remember she left me a voicemail, and she was like, "I got this crazy idea. Call me back." And I got off work and I called her, and she was like, "You want to run season 3 of The Shy?" And I was like, I feel like the answer is yes, but I have to check with my wife just because I know that is a lifestyle commitment. Huge, huge sea change. And I called my wife, who's also a writer, and was like, you have to. And I was like, that's what I thought, but I just wanted to check.
I
And
like
then,
your wife.
yeah, no, she's the best. And then
Oh,
after that initial thing, but then it was like, okay, so I have Lena's blessing, and then I had to go in and not only like get people comfortable, executives and studio network comfortable with the idea of me running the show because I had never done it before and I was jumping several levels. I had to pitch them my vision for the season. So like I had to come up with that to get the job and kind of prove like I have a vision for what I want to do and this fits in with Lena, what Lena wants to do with the show, and together we're gonna, make the show that we've been wanting to make for the first 2 seasons.
oh my God. So did you go from, was it Snowfall that you went from that to this? Or what? Yes.
No, so I was on The Shy I've been on it all since season 1. But I
Oh,
was
okay.
just yeah, but I was a story editor and then I was an executive story editor. And then I was a co-producer on Snowfall, and then I came back and was a showrunner for season 3 of The Shy. So like I skipped a lot of steps. No, yeah, I'm very, very, very fortunate.
Oh, Lena's got a great eye. I
She
love
does.
this.
She does.
Oh,
She's
that is
created a ton of showrunners.
fantastic. Because like when I looked at your episode of Snow, one episode in particular that I remember just resonated with me, and I saw your name on the screen and I was like, oh my God, I have got to tell. And it was so fulfilling and rewarding to see the arc of growth for you and where you were, and know that your voice was always there. So I think it was just the learning and believing
Yeah.
that made the difference. And so I completely understand, but oh my God, now I get even more when you wrote in an interview the terror when you were a showrunner of thinking back to when you were a staff level. I love that. Take me into terror. Like, how do you
Oh
use
yeah.
terror to your advantage?
Well, I mean, it's just reality, right? So like the terror makes me prepare until I feel like I don't have anything to worry about. Like it's like you prepare till you get to the point where you feel as though this might not be for everyone, but I know that this is well constructed, this is well done, and that's enough. Like, it's not perfect, but nothing is. But like the terror just makes you prepare and be ready. And also know that like it's not the end of the world. I mean, my first staff job, I didn't get brought back, and I thought that was the end of the world. And like most bad things, it ended up in business. It ended up being one of the best things that ever happened to me. So
Isn't that the truth? Like the
Hmm.
idea, I always tell people you have to always remember that you fail forward. You
Hmm.
don't fail back. Like your failures give you so much more information and
Hmm.
opportunity than your
Yeah.
successes. So
Hmm.
there is so much to be gained from that. So I love that you tapped into that. So with pitching, because you're going to be hearing pitches in the
Yes.
Story Wise Tell Us seminar.
Hmm.
Tell me, like when you think about your arc of growth with pitching, what are some tools that you've learned along the
Hmm.
way? And I'd also love to know what you look for in a strong
Hmm.
pitch.
No, that's great. I look for, and what I look for is also what's kind of helped me along the way. Is one, like people that have something to say, because when you have something to say and you feel passionate about that idea, that usually comes through in the writing. And if you can make people feel in the writing, they'll forgive you. Not that you should have typos, but they'll forgive imperfection, if you can make them feel and feel that passion. So I really look for people who really have something to say, because every time I've had something to say, that script is cut through. But every time I just had a really good idea, it it kind of fell flat in the execution because I my connection to it wasn't really there.
Yes, I think that's pivotal. I love the idea. I mean, I even when I look at films right now, when I look at films like the recent Everything Everywhere All at Once. Like when I look at
Hmm.
something like that, when I look at Triangle of Sadness, and I think there's something so fascinating when you have these themes that
Hmm.
are resonating and very topical, that you feel like, oh my God, like this project knows how I feel. Like this, they're like exploring things that are inside of me. So I think that goes into the idea of knowing you have something to say. And I think communicating that in a pitch is everything. What would you say, like thinking about your pitching in the room? Like what are some of the rules with pitching in the room?
Hmm. You know, uh, two things I would say. For me, it's just try to make it as conversational as possible. And so for that reason, I mean, not 100%, but I've almost stopped making things up. Um, I've been very fortunate to live a lot, and it doesn't feel like it in the moment, but I've made a lot of mistakes. And the mistakes, they give you a lot to talk about and a lot to write about. And so I usually, when I'm talking about a story or a character, I'm referencing something that happened, and I'm telling stories about people I know or my family. And that just allows it to, because it's a thing that I learned in Writers on the Verge is like, you you need to find a way to put yourself in the script, and in
Yeah.
the story, because that's your voice, that's the gift that you have. And so like the more you can do that, the more it'll resonate. So I just try to do that.
And accessing your emotional truth. So,
Hmm.
so I think, did you feel like accessing your emotional truth was something that came easy to you, or did you have to grow into
No, it did not come easy for me. And it's funny you took body language. As soon as you said it, I like folded my arms, because it does not come easy for me.
that? Yeah.
But and to be perfectly honest, though, that was the difference between me being a working writer and not, is that ability to be vulnerable, because that's the
Yep.
job. And that
Yes.
vulnerability, letting people in, that's what people connect with. Those feelings that you have that you want to run away from is what makes people, gravitate to the material. And it was definitely did not come natural to me. But like now, once I do it, it's so easy to recognize in someone else. And it's, I really try with younger writers to just really get them to embrace the things that they may be ashamed of or may be insecure about, because it's like that's your story, and the more specific and personal you make it, there's so many people out there that are going through the exact same thing you went through, just in a different way. So that's the job.
Yes. Well, you tapped in. I love what you tapped into with the key word vulnerability.
Hmm.
I think that's so crucial, and that and having courage to
Hmm.
be vulnerable and trusting that your vulnerability is something that's going to take you where you need to be in your writing versus
Hmm.
something that's going to blow up in your face. You know,
Hmm.
I think that is the ongoing arc of growth of the job. You know, I think it is
Hmm. For sure.
continuous. Yes. All right. So last thing I want you to comment, because the course is called Character and Character Dynamics, and because I love the depth of character that I see you write. And I saw in one article that paralleled some of the tools that I'm using in this course, something about the birthday tool where you
Oh
look
yes.
at, yes. So tell us about that.
Oh yeah. So I'm more into astrology than any reasonable person should be. And I have this book, The Secret Language of Birthdays, and it's just the idea behind it is that people born on the same day have the same psychological tendencies. And so it just kind of talks about how people think and how people approach the world and like what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are. Um, and I give every character a birthday. So when I'm trying to figure out like what would this person do? Because character is destiny, right? So it's like, okay, what would this person do? And I'm like, oh well, this is their birthday, and I look like, well, these are their strengths, these are their weaknesses. It's like this person is, isolated, insecure, and insensitive. So it's like, okay, so that person's going to handle it a different way than someone who is self-delusional. You know what I mean? So it's like
Yes.
just ascribing those things, and so I do that, and I also really lean into real people I know. Like every day, I just am like, I'm just like, this is my cousin, so like I know exactly what he would do because I know him.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yes.
using those tools just to make your characters be real people and have real authentic reactions, versus kind of what you need them to do to get to the next story point.
Yes. Oh my God, I love that. I love that because I feel like in your writing, there is such a truth in your characters that make me feel the
Oh,
authenticity of the character that, oh, I just love. All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing this
oh,
time with us. And we are so excited to have you on the event and hear what you have to say, the advice you have to give of these writers that are going to pitch you. You guys are going to love Justin. So thank you.
no, it's my pleasure. And the only thing I would add is, if I can do it, anybody can do it. Uh, you know, you just stick at it, and you'll get better and better and better. And that's the
Excellent
name of the
advice.
game.
Yeah, that is excellent advice. Thank you so much, Justin.
No, it's a pleasure, truly a pleasure. Thank you.